And
Oh.
we are back. Boost, game number 2. I called it a TSM draft. Necrox calls it a Team Liquid draft. This is the exact type of draft TSM used to run for years and years and years, and they had success with it. Why did they have success this game?
I don't know. Well, who flashed that fight? They had everything going for them this game. They had another huge gold lead. They had the first 3 dragons. It's just getting caught right before objectives again. Right before that 4th dragon, the first one that Lotus got, which led to an instant Baron right after. Sting is getting caught in the mid lane right there at the very end to the Veigar, just getting instantly blown up. I don't know why he thought he could even be that close by himself. Especially not going shield bow, not going any of the defensive items when you're just focusing on the kindred to keep you alive. But I don't know. It just seems like who flashed that fight, they just don't have that late game coherency that they had in previous series. I just don't think. I think you should just stick to your game plans that worked throughout the whole series or throughout the whole season. Just put Stingus on those long range supportive AD carries, and just play through your top side. Because he's not going to lose you the game, but he's probably not going to win you the game either if you put him on a hyper carry.
We're into the draft for game number 2. Lotus once again on the blue side. Who flashed that fight on the red side? Zinzao, Aurelia, Ziggs banned out by Lotus. Who Flash banning out the Thresh, Aphelios, and Tom Kent. First pick Diana once again for Lotus. With Seraphine and Ezreal, this is finally the safety. But it's Lulu Kog'Maw. They're like, you play a safe bot lane, we're going to play a safe bot lane. And someone outscales in the late game, and I'm fairly certain the name is Lulu Kog'Maw.
Yeah, the thing about picking Kog'Maw into Ezreal is that historically Kog'Maw hasn't been the strongest in lane, but Kog'Maw destroys Ezreal right now, especially if you go with the Halo Blades build with the Lulu speed ups, and Ezreal cannot really do anything once the Kog'Maw W is up. He just presses it whenever his Halo Blaze is up and just goes for the quick 3 auto trades and can't do anything back.
And on the same coin, right, we don't know if this is actually Seraphine bot lane or if it's Seraphine mid, right? Still could be either. Hecarim being picked up in the jungle here for the side of who flashed that fight. Of course, Baka, the highlight, I think, from who flashed that fight that game, was consistently on point with every single ultimate, was pumping out all the damage that they needed to do. And, you know, Hecarim, a much more aggressive jungler than the Kindred, can make things happen early. And they have Ezreal as a late game condition, even if it does eventually get outscaled by the Kog'Maw.
Yeah, so my team in particular, we love joining the Seraphine because it's such a safe pick mid lane. There's so much utility that comes through with it. It's a great secondary engage, so you can just follow up on a Hecarim ulti with a Seraphine ult, charming them all. It's just very safe and very strong. And if you go the AP with the Andries, it actually pumps out a ton of damage. So I don't think you'll have an issue with the damage department, especially if Ezreal goes some Serpent's Fang. Because if you go Serpent's Fang against Lulu, her effectiveness is cut down by quite a bit. And the Diana too, with all her shielding and whatnot. Banning the Veigar and Cassio here for who flashed that fight is very, very good because it's banning a lot of the disengaged champions that Lotus just played, and they want to go in with the Hecarim. They want to go in with the Hecarim. They want to chain his ult with the Seraphine ult, the Ezreal ults, all these big engage ults. They just want to blow you up.
And they have good counter engage with the Set ultimate as well, which is something that I think they've been lacking, especially against this Diana has been counter engage. Set very good at that with Facebreaker and also with Showstopper. That said, Lotus, they have to pick up a mid lane and a top lane, and they picked the Mundo, presumably into the set. This is visual updated Mundo. Did they actually do a full rework on this kit or not? I always forget.
This is the reworked Mundo. I have always been such a big fan of Dr. Mundo. I always say he's the best champion in the game for no particular reason. I just love him. He's just amazing. And the thing with who flashed that fight's team is they don't really have a good way of dealing with him. They don't. Unless Seraphine goes mid and goes to Leandry's, maybe even Demonic, they don't have a lot of percent HP damage. They don't have like super consistent DPS. So I think Mundo is actually a really, really great pick into who flashed that fight's team.
Leandry's gives you the burn, but it doesn't give you the bonus to dots that it once did, right? They changed that and made it a little bit more of a bursty item, which is fine for Seraphine, but at the same time, up against this Mundo, it's going to be tough. They're picking a support here. It's Ezreal Yuumi to go with this Seraphine. So double Enchanter setup from Who Flashed That Fight with an aggressive top side. This is more akin to what we were expecting and what we were hoping from Who Flashed That Fight. But at the same time, Lotus, they got this Mundo, and I'm with you right there. I don't think they have a way to deal with them.
The only reason why I'm not a fan of this Who Flashed That Fight's draft is because they're playing this game for team fights, and Lotus has just shown in the first 2 games that they're just straight up better at it. They know how to pick their targets. They can rely on Waffle Wheel's positioning, and I don't know. They don't have enough tools to like stomp the early game this game, I feel like.
I'm with you there. That said, same time, we got a raid. Thank you very much, AGC Sports, for rating us. That was very appreciative. We are in Game 3 of the Excellency Heavy League Finals between Lotus and Who Flashed That Fight. Lotus currently up 2-0, and a couple of games that went down to just a couple of mistakes from Who Flashed the Fight. Lotus turning it around. We'll see if they're able to make that happen. Once again, though, Lotus doesn't really have any winning lanes. They have Orion and a Seraphine, which should be an even lane at the very least, so that's better than last game in terms of early game pressure. But once again, they have this Diana who's going to be farming up in the jungle, not really going to be putting a lot of pressure in towards those side lanes. And maybe Who Flashed, now that they have, you know, a winning top lane matchup and they don't need to worry about bot lane, perhaps they can punish this Mundo early.
I think one of the big things I would like to see from this game is Baka popping off on Hecarim. Because, I mean, aside from Diana getting those 3 kills early last game, she ended up 3-3 coming into the mid game after a couple of bad fights that she took. So I feel like if Baka can get himself ahead enough, the Hecarim Yumi combo, that's always going to be gross. And if you can get that online earlier rather than later, then they can snowball this game. Just those 2 champions by themselves. And if you combo that with a Seraphine, like, the Hecarim just becomes absolutely unstoppable.
At the same time, this is an ult stacking comp up against a team that has continually beaten Who Flashed That Fight when it comes to team fights through better positioning. Grant you, Baka popped off in some of those team fights and kept Who Flashed That Fight in that game for as long as they were. But at the same time, like, Baka's on Hecarim now. He's not going to be able to save his the rest of his team. He's not going to be able to save his Seraphine. He's not going to be able to save his Ezreal. And then presumably the Yumi's going to be on the Hecarim or the Ezreal in these fights. So it's going to be eyes on not Yoshi, right? If not Yoshi can make these engages happen, and the follow-up comes in from JBL and Waffle Wheel, then Who Flashed That Fight does not have a response unless Dustodon just plays strict peel.
Yeah, that's why I'm not a fan of the Diana like with this comp, because they basically just want to peel for the Kog'Maw. But Diana is the only champion that really just wants to go in, be in there. And against Ezreal, Yumi, Seraphine, like, you're not going to blow up that backline as Diana. You're just not going to, because the shields, the heals that are going to come out, the Ezreal EX, the dodge your ult too, it's just not going to happen. So I'm kind of curious as to how Nayoshi is going to become relevant in this game, but I don't really see it happening. But I also feel like they don't.
Wait. You see this swap? Donut Maker's on that. This is mid Ezreal and bot lane Seraphine.
Oh my god, you would never see me doing that. I told my team, I'm like, yo, if you ever put me on Seraphine bot lane, I'm probably good.
This is mid Ezreal and bot lane Seraphine.
It kind of makes sense, but I think if you put Ezreal down in that bot lane, they just lose, because Ezreal cannot do anything against Kog'Maw Lulu. But
yeah, but at the same time, Ezreal mid lane's gonna eat it to the Orianna.
Maybe. I mean, maybe Donamaker's been practicing it. Maybe he has the super spicy tech. I don't know, but I do think the bot lane matchup is a little better. Like, it went from like losing to going even, which is still pretty bad against Kog'Maw Lulu. But if Ezreal can somehow win mid lane, then I don't know. I feel like we're in for a banger game 3 though.
We'll see how this game plays out though after the break. When we return, DJ Necrox and RMC get us into game 3.
Game 3 in Excellency Heavy League Grand Finals. Lotus 2-0 in this series, 1 game away from their first ever title. Who flashed that fight? The former champions. Stingus led his crew to so many victories, so much success, but they're only 1 game away from being knocked out and going home. 2nd place.
And so, Necrox, what do you do when you are up against it? What do you turn to? You turn to, of course, the E-Girls! Always must turn to the E-Girls, of course, right? Seraphine, Yuumi, bottom lane. What could be better than this? Okay, jokes aside, Necrox absolutely hates casting this sort of thing. There's a little bit of that Captain Flowers
you say
in
what
him.
could be better, DJ? Anything. You could have testicular cancer and be better. You could gouge out my eyes like extremely.
Wow, that got dark, RMC.
I'm sorry. Seraphine Yuumi is just overkill. Like, what is the point of this lane? You're healing and healing and healing, and you don't get anything.
Wait.
It's not that lane.
Okay. Maybe we found the cure to cancer here. It looks like Donut Maker's going down to the bot lane here with that Yuumi, and that I can live with.
All right, something's up with our rails here. We have gone so far off track. We gotta center up. Stingus is playing mid lane. I'm not sure you can consider it a bot gap if you're not the one playing it, Stingus. So it is Donut Maker taking up the charge in the 2v2 against the Kog'Maw Lulu. Dokdo on the Yuumi. Thought he's had a pretty good game and series so far, but there you go. Observer swapping it over now. It is confirmed double tier start means Stingus has teleport and he'll be playing against JBL in mid.
So the double tier start is quite fascinating, right? It's something that I think Boost mentioned on the desk. It's very interesting because Who Flashed That Fight has largely been playing for early game, right? Or early to mid game at the very least, trying to get out ahead of Lotus before they can do their normal team fight scaling. Double tier is the exact opposite of that. That is, we don't want to do crap. We don't want to do anything. We want this tier to stack. We want to get there. Yeah, we can provide some utility, but damage,
Oh, if you can't beat them, join them, right? that has been sort of the issue this entire time, is that you can't beat the time attack here. So you know Lotus is probably not going to run you over in the early game. Why not? Go for that skill. Match them there. Really make it that coin flip in the end there. And if you win 1 team fight with all these tiers, with all these stacking items, you just push to end. We saw Lotus pull that off 2 games in a row now. You know what? I think it's I can't even say. I was going to say it's an acceptable adaptation, but it's an adaptation of some sort from Who Flashed That Fight here.
Yeah, I'm not giving you the word acceptable. That's not in the vocabulary for either of these teams' draft. But you're absolutely right. It is Lotus not worried about the early game either. They have done basically the same thing. The only point of pressure they have maybe is the Diana Mundo, but you're into a Heck Room set. They have a stronger 2v2 regardless, so I'm not sure that Lotus have any points of pressure on this map, and this is going to be a slow, painful early game to get through, guys, because these 2 teams are off the gas completely. It is Who Flashed That Fight really looking to wait this one out until maybe they can full on 5v5.
Yeah, but counterpoint to your point of no pressure, Necrox, there's no point of pressure here for Who Flashed That Fight either. I mean, yeah, your set is kind of a late... Okay, well, hold on, JBL, it's a 2v2.
Okay, it's a 2v2. Stingus going low. Stingus having to flash away, but Stingus is going down. JBL is going to be turned back on by the enemy jungler. Baka grabbing that one. So now the exhaust ignited waffle. He uses a cleanse to get away both summoners. Now he's turning it right back around onto a minion or 2 just for fun. Donut Maker's gonna fall. You're not an 80 carry. You're a dead piece of meat. As Donut falls, now Dokdo's in some trouble. The Mundo's arrived, and it's a pool party in the bot lane. Waffle picks it up, and Who Flashed That Fight fall to pieces in game 3.
We're gonna get a replay of this, and it's gonna take a while, because these fights right now feel like they're being slapped to death by pieces of tofu. Look how little damage is coming out onto Waffle Wheel there. Sure, you know, we saw the exhaust, but it doesn't mean anything, and it's the healing, the shielding just sustains it through. And then we see the TPs coming in from the top laners. Does that do anything? No, not really. That's a Yuumi. That's like the 2nd squishiest champion in the game, and I'm at 6 seconds, 7 seconds, 8 seconds to kill a solo Yuumi.
And critically, in that fight, all the TPs are up, but Stingus came in a half second before JVL did because of the death timers. He teleported to the mid lane turret, gentlemen. JVL teleported to the bottom lane to confirm the play. And it's Lotus who sprint out to an early 1K lead because of it on this scaling bottom lane. And now the question continues to increase in size. How do you kill Waffle Wheel in these fights? How do you get on top of him? And do you outscale him? I don't know if you do. You don't.
Yeah, that is definitely an issue here. And for the side of who flashed that fight, your mid lane remains a point where you can kill somebody. Bot lane, between the shielding of the Lulu and just Kog'Maw's ability to sort of kite back a little bit himself when there's no blinks in and Ezreal and Yuumi don't have damage, that's not really a lane you can kill. Topside Mundo, that's another rough one here. So I want to see Baka continue to sit in this mid lane, but Yoshi's moving first.
Yoshi going in. There's the Moonfall. Encore gonna hit two. Sting is going low, but JVL may just get returned on again. Both mid laners going down, but Stingus is getting the worst end of these trades. Yoshi in a 1v1 against Baka doesn't have an easy escape route, will simply gallop away. But again, the 2v2 hopping in quick here in mid.
I mean, RMC continues to identify where we want to play, which is why both junglers are continuing to show up at the same exact time, and we're continuing to see the exact same 2v2 play out on repeat here. Literally the exact same thing. Stingus dies a half second before JVL, and we go back to parity.
Yeah, and that's just going to keep happening, unfortunately. And I think really what's going to start tipping the balance, the scales a little bit here, will be your AD carries. The fact that Kog'Maw and Ezreal both have their strengths. Kog'Maw is better in these extended fights if you're just standing and firing here. Whereas Donut Maker on this Ezreal, it's a lot about getting the poke down, about being able to create that zoning space here. So if we're just talking about laning, Donut Maker, once he starts getting a couple items, should start beating Waffle Wheel. But come the big team fights, I expect to see Lotus be the ones moving together as a team, get this Juggernaut going a bit, and then all eyes on Yoshi for these big engages to force the fights onto Donut Maker. If you take Donut Maker out, the fight's done.
Yeah, and that's really what you're looking for, right? You don't need to do anything else if you're Lotus. You know where the power is. You know where the scaling is. It's all going to be on Waffle again. Dust to Dawn, he's going all in.
Okay, Accelerate flashing away from the true damage part of the Haymaker, but Dusk flashing away from the Cleaver. Means there is no solo kill to be had in top lane, at least for now. But both these teams definitely willing to duke things out. Even though they might not do a lot of damage, they are willing to slap each other around as much as possible. Still yet to see a dragon, though. Baka finally going to answer my question. He's going to be the first jungler to pick up dragon number 1.
Now that your question is answered, I have a question of my own, Necrox, and it's a scary one. And that's, what soul do we get? Because if we get mountain or ocean, this game gets even worse because you've got shielding on top of shielding. Okay, ocean's done, so it's not the end of the world here. If there is mountain, though, that is still shielding on top of shielding, plus resistances here. And not only does that benefit the AD carries, but it also means that we don't get a split push. There's literally no point. A Mundo and a set going at it would go to the end of time before they find a victor.
The Cloud Soul could be interesting, though, RMC. There are a couple champions, one in particular, that really like Cloud Soul in this game. So I actually think that might be, on this rare occasion, the more interesting soul. The Mountain, like you said, will likely deaden a lot of options for these two teams, and we will just sort of get that slap fight against the healing and shielding that will come out. I'm hoping for that RNG because I want a little more excitement.
And just a small point right now, while that was happening, Herald did get picked up by Yoshi here. And I am praying that Lotus is able to use this, right? Because that is our only hope, gents, of accelerating the pace of the game this early on. If not, we're really in it for probably another 10 to 15 minutes of farming.
Yeah, and anywhere but top lane, honestly, is where I want to see this one go. Please don't give your gold to a Mundo. That is not what I want. I want it onto Waffle. I want it onto JVL, the two carries who have shined all throughout the regular season, all throughout playoffs, and all throughout this series in finals, giving them some extra gold to work with to make them pop off just that much harder in team fights would scratch all my itches that have been abandoned from what we have drafted in a final game, potentially in a grand finals. Pulled back there onto Accelerate. Dusk taking some trades, but will not be able to find it. Nice Haymaker, though, to make sure he wins out on top.
Imagine like Accelerate like demands the Rift Herald gets dropped in his lane. He like goes like he goes full Hobbit and he's like, why shouldn't it be mine? Why shouldn't I have it? Just imagine he goes full Bilbo Baggins on Yoshi. That would be incredible.
He gets what he pleases and goes where he pleases. It's Accelerate. He's Mundo. He can get anything he wants.
True. And you know what? To be fair, I think he's gotten the most chip damage on the turret. So he's got one plate. Nobody else has gotten a plate yet. So maybe there's a case to be had for it.
Accelerate MVP.
He's certainly done a lot so far, and we are seeing Baka look bot side here.
Okay,
Flash.
double flash away plus the cleanse from
double
Waffle,
TP.
even though there was no CC to be found. Double TP arriving. There's the fear on the JBL. Immediately wild growth in. Baka's gonna be exhausted. Three-man encore. The beautiful shockwave coming out from JBL. Baka's surviving, but two more teleports are joining the fight. It's a 5-on-5. Accelerate's joining. Not gonna find the dunk because he's unstoppable. Dusted Dawn low, but not killed off quite yet. Lotus and Who flash that fight. All 5 members show up. Yoshi's the only one not to arrive at the party, but it doesn't matter because no one dives and Yoshi's still free pushing.
I mean, this is exactly what we expected. Everybody piling in shields, heals, everything gets blown, but nobody drops. And sadly, until we start seeing a couple items come through, most notably Grievous Wounds and maybe even a Serpent's Fang, I don't know who's going to build it, but somebody got to build it because all these shields coming through are absolutely massive. We do see Herald drop top, and it is useful. It's not Accelerate, but it is going to be first turret.
All right, good stuff there. Even though Accelerate doesn't cash in on the turret, he'll be happy. It was his turret. That counts for something, right? And, well, the cash may just be given right back to Who flashed up by Yoshi flashed away, but being burned down to the red challenging smite. The pots will keep him alive, but Baka wants the kill regardless. Here comes Stingus, tanking up the turret, takes one extra one, but they can't finish him off, and Yoshi just simply walks and waves goodbye.
That's tragic. That feels so bad. Hecarim's the fastest champion in the game. Why you can't catch him? That's just despicable. Accelerate now. He can honestly 1v2 and JBL's coming.
Shockwave.
JBL's here. Shockwave available. Hits both. And Stingus is deleted immediately and make it 2 for nothing. As 2 kills, both of them go the way of JBL.
I just want to say that, you know, for the side of all of that started by Yoshi not dying. And we talked about the fact that Hecarim's the fastest jungler, technically on paper, maybe Rammus. But the problem is that Yoshi walked out of that. There was no shielding. There was no extra shields. There were no heals. Yoshi just walked out. And then because they overextended, because Baka ate those turret shots, we get this situation where Accelerate looks like he's shafted in between 2, but he's Mundo, and he's just as safe, and then the shock wave hits. We sit the mid laners, they're vulnerable. It's not about the mid lane, it's about the champions, and the Seraphine goes down immediately.
Anyone else hear that jingly guitar music, by the way? I'm pretty sure Accelerate was playing on his little ukulele. That's some good old BM from the Dr. Mundo, as Baka is now sped up by this Yumi. If you have not gotten your vote in chat on what Soul will be, make sure to do it now, because I think we're going to find out here in just a couple of seconds. Dragon is available, and this one will determine what kind of rift we get.
Yeah, but again, we've been talking about the items, right? This fight is going to be such a wet noodle fight. Look at the items. There's only one for 2 members of Lotus and only one for 2 members of Who flashed that fight. They're not even going to contest this one. It will go down. They don't feel comfortable, and it's going to be the mountain. Oh, no.
Speaking of wet noodle fights, this starch doesn't stiffen anything up here. It's just going to get worse. And I want to point out, too, that I was going to say, Who flashed a fight? I don't think they want to fight this. Ocean Drake is actually not as impactful. 2.5% missing health every 5 seconds when you already have so many shields and healing already is not going to feel that impactful. So if you are not there in time, if you're not in a good position to fight when you're down almost 3,000 gold, you let that one go and you wait for the mountains. That's when we're really going to see them fight after Donut Maker actually gets his mythic. I'm praying it's a Divine Sunderer here.
Yeah, I would imagine so. And the Divine Sunderer, that would make a lot of sense. We'll see, though, as things get on cooking. As Who flashed that fight, now down about 3,000 gold. Not really much to be had other than a few kills, a few missteps here, maybe from Baka and Stingus. But again, I don't think this early game matters all too much. It's all about these late game 5v5s with all the healing and shielding.
Yeah, and if we can actually toggle the gold here, observers, if you wouldn't mind, the concerning thing I'm seeing as this Rift Child has started is that the Divine Sunder is not completed, Okay, hold on. We have a fight here. JBL looks like he's in trouble.
Showstopper, health bar, popper is JBL's one shot. And here comes the onslaught of shadows to chase down the few extra kills remaining. Yoshi slowed, Yoshi golden, but Yoshi is down in just a moment. There you go. He's picked up by Dusk 2. Right back into the hands of Who Flashed That Fight as they will grab Rift Herald.
And this just seems like it's been a bit of a curse for Lotus, their setup. Once again, they're just kind of caught with their pants down with 3 members who run on in. One of them has an unstoppable. He can't, you can't shockwave the Hecarim coming in. They lose a 3v3 skirmish, 3k gold in the lead, and now they might lose their mid lane turret.
Okay, TP coming down as well here to just try and defend it, and they can't.
Yeah, this one's gone. It's a lot of members here in mid lane for Lotus, but just hanging around, not really too much.
Yeah, and I had wanted to address the fact that I think Lotus was a little bit overconfident. They've been winning all these fights that they've been picking here, right? They got themselves a 3k gold lead, and they were thinking, okay, you know what? Our Diana is strong, our Orianna is strong, that's where the kills are, and Accelerate's going to be able to tank things up. What they kind of forgot a little bit is that for Dust to Dawn and Baka, their items are coming through as well. And Divine Sunderer hurts, even if you're a tank. The Rift Maker for this Diana needs time to stack up. So when you're just going at straight burst damage at each other like that, the Divine Sunderer is going to be more impactful. And they focused out Yoshi right away. The focus, the decision making to take out the jungler was a really, really solid call.
Yeah, certainly was. The skirmish was excellent from Who Flashed That Fight, and one of the better ones we've seen from them, right, in a series that's largely been dominated by Lotus winning anything 3v3 and over with their TPs, with their better shot calling, whatever the case may be. So a good sign for Who Flashed That Fight, and particularly good because now they all 5 have a mythic item, right? We've kind of gotten to that point. So they can fight back right now. I'm still a little concerned with how much CS Waffle Wheel is up here on the Ezreal. Typically, you want to hit your item spikes a little ahead of enemy AD carries when you are the Ezreal, and it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. That is something to keep your eye on as this game progresses, because if Waffle's on 3 at any point in this game, it's really hard to keep up with his damage.
And I'm curious on that same note, TJ, is where Waffle's actually going to go, whether it is something damage oriented like a Kraken or maybe even a Shield Bow, or if we're going to get even more defensive itemization, something like the Randuin's or maybe even a Frozen Heart mythic, which is, or not a Frozen Heart, excuse me. I'm lacking on the name, but it doesn't matter because the fight's breaking out. Who cares about names of items when you've got dead mid laners? JVL's gone, and so is Yoshi on the other side of the rift. It is all hell in a handbasket. Traded back onto Dust to Dawn, but now it's Waffle Wheel caught out in a bad spot, having to flash over a wall. Nicely done to evade the True Shot barrage. Flash into the safety of his big old Mundo up on top side, who is now coming to defend the mid tier 2. Accelerate not going to be able to do that. Shielded up and sped out by Mr. Kiwiism.
And a bit of a series of mistakes here from Lotus. The fact that JVL was just kind of wandering down in the bot side all alone here. You don't really own your jungle anymore when your mid lane outer turret's gone down. There's a free path in, and you know Dragon's coming up, so you can't just assume that your jungle is safe. It's so rid right now. Who Flashed That Fight have everything warded out, and Lotus can't see that, but you've got to assume it. You cannot think of it as safe. Topside as well. Dust to Dawn did go down, but that was a 2v1, and Dust to Dawn still managed to pick up Yoshi on the backside of that. So they're in a very solid position for this Dragon that's spawning right now.
Yeah, and I think in particular when you're playing against Yuumi, right? Like, Yuumi just warps games. You put her on a bruiser, you put her on this Hecarim. The mid game is when you're truly at your strongest, when the damage isn't there to shred through your healing. We'll have to hold on, though. This Drake is being started. It's going down really quick.
Dragon down to about 4,500, now healing up to about 5k. Lotus had started this one up, but it's Who Flashed That Fight in the river, willing to contest. It is Mountain Soul. If you wanted a Mountain Soul, I'm not sure who you are or what kind of drugs you're on, but we got it. Lotus need this one if they want to get some sort of an objective stack. Same thing to be said for Who Flashed That Fight. Everyone resets, but with a poke coming in from Singus in this Leandri's, it is Who Flashed That Fight that win the fight without even taking them.
And for these particular fights here, we talked about the fact that Donut Maker, once he's got the Divine Sunderer, they'll win these siege situations. Waffle Wheel needs an engage to actually get in there and pump out the damage. And then, like you mentioned, Necrox, the Leandri's coming through from Stingus. JVL's running a Luden's Tempest. You're looking for the burst damage, so they just need to pull the trigger. Yoshi had the Moonfall available. And I think even at this time, even if it's just the tanks, if you can hit Baka, worth. The only person you kind of want to avoid engaging onto is going to be Dust to Dawn. And frankly, with the PD and Wits End already completed for Waffle Wheel, you still have a pretty decent chance of ripping down that tank anyways.
Yeah, I think the big reason that Lotus doesn't go in that situation is more so that what we see just happening, the completion of the Zonias was not there for not Yoshi. That's such a big completion for Diana. Now your engage becomes a lot more free. You don't really want to go in with Diana as the first member. You typically want to find a flank or be the second form of engage because you're not actually that tanky. Now with that Zonias, you get a little more option to be that first line of engage because you won't just get punished for it. I think this is a smart, intentional decision from Lotus. They know that item's not there. Now it is. Now they can fight around the next Drake, and they're still not near soul point.
Yeah, and that's it for Yoshi as well. You don't have a choice. You knew you're going to be the primary engage when you dropped this team. JVL, Waffle, and Kiwi are not going to go in first, and Mundo might go where Mundo pleases, but the opponents can also go where they please when they see that Mundo walking at you. You don't have an easy engage as Mundo, so he's almost always going to be either the first person engaged on or the second person engaging or follow-up engage, I guess, if you can call walking in and chucking cleavers at people and engage. So yeah, Yoshi knew their job, and I think that's also why we're seeing the Rift Maker, right? The fact that you can heal some of that damage up, you have some of the Omni Vamp to sustain after that initial dangerous engage there.
Finally, for the first time in this series, both these two teams willing to just sit back and collect minions. Lotus and Who Flashed that fight really waiting this one out, waiting for 2-3 items to come online. You can see Donut Maker falling pretty far behind in the CS department, as we already talked about. That is now manifesting into a serious lack of itemization. JVL under his turret with Yoshi waiting in the wings. This is smart jungling from Yoshi, knowing that they want this bottom turret. But regardless, he's just wasting time if he's not willing to defend it.
Yeah, I mean, you're shadowing, right? Because you look at the top side, your camps are not up. There's nowhere better for Yoshi to be at the moment. Stingus, this is an awkward one. I think he's fine.
Okay. All right, he's out. I was, Mundo, one of those champions, you never know if he's just going to kill you under your turret with 8 tower shots in his back, or if he's just going to throw a cleaver and walk away. You always got to wonder, what kind of Mundo are you getting today?
Yeah, and the other thing too is, as long as Stingus doesn't attack Mundo, there's not much he can do against you, because if the healing isn't cut, you can sustain through his poke anyway. So it's one of those awkward situations where the best thing here is to be a pacifist. Don't hit the Mundo, and both of you can just walk your own way here. Now, for Who Flashed That fight, they're actually in a slightly better position to siege up here. We'd already talked about the fact of that Seraphine, of that Ezreal, and the difficulty Lotus have of engaging. So if they want to set up tent at a turret and siege, Lotus are going to find it a little bit more difficult to respond, while Lotus, on the other hand, can't exactly siege. Waffle Wheel is not in a great position yet. You're building that defensive Randuin's with the Warden's Mill, with the Kindle Gem here. That's not going to help you take turrets very quickly. So I would like to see Who Flashed That fight try and push the game pace a little bit more rather than just sitting back and, once again, letting Lotus scale up to their favorite part of the game for free.
I'm also a little surprised that Who Flashed That fight is waiting around, particularly because, again, this is the Yuumi mid game. It's very hard to shred through the healing at this point in the game. Dust going on accelerate, but again, these are two tanky boys. Don't think a whole lot's going to come of this. We've already seen it once, right? Picking off JVL. When you have this Hecarim Yuumi combo, if you can set a vision in the enemy jungle, you can just kind of pick anyone off. You can dive under turrets because you have the Yuumi on your back. That's how you warp the game with Yuumi. So I'm very surprised that they aren't being a little more aggressive, looking for 2v2 skirmishes, because Yuumi really swings those in your favor.
All right, Dragon up in 40 seconds, RMC and DJ. This one may matter a little bit more. May not want to give Soul Point away, but Yoshi not getting the ulti onto Baka. That is a massive engage tool now down. And with Who Flashed That fight, earning control, engage is critical.
And he only tried to get it onto one. What was that decision?
I'm more worried that they just don't have any engage now. And suddenly, Lotus, how do you walk into this pit? You've got to be in the pit first. And we've already seen what happens in the siege situation. It looks like Lotus have just given it up.
Yeah, yep. I mean, they have to, right? Like you regularly saying, or obviously you can't engage. That's your engage button. You used it on one member. Yeah, sure, he's got a cat on his back, 1.5, but that's just not enough. And that decision is going to cost them.
Yeah, I hate to say it, a mistake from Yoshi, but honestly, that is a big one. When you don't have engage, when you don't have a lot of ability to get into something that's not yours, you have to have every single engage cooldown, and that one is something you have to keep an eye on. The sub jungler here, the new jungler, let me say, from Lotus, that's a pretty critical error. And now a sole point for who flashed that fight. Only one dragon away now from what I would consider a huge win condition.
Baron's up, and with how the teams are playing right now, they're not looking to siege, they're looking to try and get objectives. Kog'Maw can shred that. Ezreal does pretty decent damage into the Baron as well here, so teams need to start setting up for that. And for the side of who flashed that fight, they already have their winning formula. Get there first and control the choke points. Between the Encore and the final chapter, it is so difficult for Lotus to walk in there. And for Lotus, we already know Yoshi's your engage, but we can see that Yoshi's struggling to get in there. So use that Shurelia's first. Don't let the initiator be Kiwi in the form of pressing that Shurelia's rather than have not Yoshi try and force it himself. Who Flash Fight has been doing such a good job kiting back, and they have enough tools as well that you're probably not going to be able to catch up on your own as is Diana.
Yeah, it's such a war of attrition at the moment, right? We have not seen really any large-scale fights. It has just been sacrifices of the Drakes up to this point so people can get onto their item break points, can, you know, keep control of the parts of the map that they have. It's just sort of been back and forth in those terms, not like the fighting we have seen in the first two games. It does have to come to a head at some point, though, gentlemen. There are just objectives on the map that you can't give up. There's one coming up in 3:30. There's a Baron coming up in 3 items now onto Waffle.
It's going to be Baron. Who Flash Fight's already in there. They've got all the vision. Their setup is already complete.
Yeah, they're just moments away from being able to start this one up. You can see Dust to Dawn pushing out this top wave as fast as he can. And here come the pings, RMC and DJ. JBL's on bot side does have teleport, but they're going to start this one up. And Waffle, Kiwi, and JBL are nowhere near this play. It is Who Flashed That Fight making a game and a series deciding call starting this one up. And Lotus are nowhere near the damn thing.
It's absolutely
It's
they're
gone.
gonna get spotted out way too fast. Like, this is just absolutely gone. They're not even gonna fight. They're just backing off.
I cannot believe what has just manifested on Summoner's Rift. Mark your calendars, mark your dates, mark your clocks, because Who Flashed That Fight just committed robbery in a grand final.
I disagree. That's not robbery. That's planning. That's execution. That, to me, is more of...
It can be a planned robbery, DJ. Have you ever heard of, like, second
It's a heist. It's a heist.
This is not... No. It's not a heist, because this is always their Baron to take, right? They have the mid lane turret. They have full control of the jungle. It's Lotus's job to be paying the heck attention to what's going on to this Baron that belongs to Who Flashed That Fight, and they just don't do it.
Stealing from a blind man is still a crime, DJ. You can't do it. You can't do it. Lotus had no rights to it at all, but you can't give it over regardless. And now you are against the Baron with Mountain Soul on the cards. This is dire straits from Lotus. I hate to say it, but game 3 is no longer theirs.
Yeah, and on top of that, the issue that we've not really seen from both teams is how do you push, right? Like, Baron is in the hands of Who Flash and Fight, and it's up to them to try and make something happen. JVL might have overstepped a little bit. That's a very fast horsey coming through.
Okay, they're going down. Here comes the four-legged duo. Cat on your back and get clawed. Dokdo finds himself a kill because why not stack up the Dark Seal, and Lotus 4v5 on the map for the next 38 seconds.
And this is what you wanted. This is how Yuumi warps the game, right? It's so fast. You cannot make a singular misstep or you just get punished. You cannot outrun it. And now with Baron, you can siege. RMC set this up. There is siege potential on this composition. They can just keep pushing forward. If they don't die, they've got a soul to fall back to in 58 seconds.
And the split push is happening as well, right? We're seeing this siege in the bot side. And meanwhile, Dust to Dawn just pushing the top lane. Donut Maker was pushing in the mid completely here. And you can just see that Lotus, you can only respond to one of these lanes at a time here. You can't deal with all of them.
It is 40 seconds from Mountain Soul, and they're losing turrets on both sides of the rift. Lotus are scrambling to figure out the game plan in a composition they had designed from square one, but Who Flashed That Fight are executing on it better. Now they have to walk in.
Once again here, no vision. If we could just toggle vision observers for a second to what Lotus sees, I want to show you how little they see. They are completely blind about this dragon. They've got a little bit on the approach from the bot side, but not in the avenues they want to play through.
I got an exercise for you. Even if our producers can't do it, close your left eye, then close your right eye. That's about what Lotus is seeing right now as they walk into the turret. No RMC, not at different times, at the same time, man. Come on, they can't see anything. This Drake is started up.
Yeah, you're walking to an Ezreal Yuumi. It's just a crap ton of poke. They're already chunking them down. Yeah, they can see the Drake, but they've already taken chunk. Kiwiism's 50% HP, and you can still fight this.
Yoshi has to be the hero. Yeah, they have no Australians. Yoshi has to be a hero. Justin Dawn trying to get into this one, running, but accelerates on the chase. Yoshi has to secure the smite. Baka now DPSing along with Donut Maker. The Ezreal in mid lane is helping this one go down to about 3,000. Teleport's going to arrive. Can they find it? They're playing for the fight. Instead, Singus is going golden. They have no Diana ulti. Huge fear across the team. And it's who flashed that fight. Running this one straight into the base. They will claim their soul, but dead timers are massive.
There's a TP coming out the top lane. They're going to bust the base open. Has Lotus lost their mind, Necrox? What are they doing?
They didn't even get the kill. That's what baffles me the most. If you're throwing everything in the kitchen sink at finding a single solo kill with that Moonfall, you better darn well find it. And they didn't. Stingus survived it. Heal is still available for Donut Maker as well. They didn't burn everything, and now their base is in shambles. Accelerate trying to hold 10 seconds before Kiwiism is up.
I mean, how can you even do that? It's illegal.
Yoshi got outplayed by the tab button. He didn't check for stopwatch. Stingus, with one keystroke, has outplayed their entire game plan. It is double inhibitors and Soul in a series point. Lotus, throw it away.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I was going to say. Me and Necrox are running over each other to say, no stopwatch check. And you're playing as the Yuumi. You can't engage onto one member with the Yuumi. That's absolutely insane.
Okay, I believe we have the replay lined up to watch it happen once again here. And yeah, you're right. They go in, and the Moonfall is there. Where's the follow-up is my biggest problem here. Waffle Wheel is the only person who autos with it. And that's not going to work here. If somebody commits like that, the entire team needs to follow up immediately. But they can't. And the moment they can't, the moment Baka distracted the back line, that was a one fight for who flashed their fight, because all your damage is split and all their damage is focused.
It is flashes burned by so many members away from Lotus. Waffle, both summoners. Yoshi, his potential to engage with the flash is gone. And look at the summoners from who flashed that fight. Yeah, you lost an exhaust, you lost Dustodon's flash, but that doesn't matter when you're this far ahead. This game has gone from a close snooze fest to an absolute nightmare from Lotus. Just when they felt comfortable enough to switch up their draft, going for this healing shield and composition, who flashed that fight punished, and they're looking to take game 3 away.
Yeah, they certainly are. And Waffle is here on 4 items. He's got a Serpent's Fang to his name as well, so he can still dish out the DPS, but it's not going to be easy, right? Mountain Soul is up. They're so far ahead now, and we've seen it's been really hard for Lotus to get a full fight. Like, I mean, it's sort of I feel like I'm watching a Korean game back in, like, Season 6. Like, who flashed that fight has just slowly choked them out of this game. And Lotus has just completely refused to fight. You have to fight. Like, if you're going to scale to fight, you have to fight.
Yeah, and the problem, too, is that they're waiting for breakpoints. But when you built a Wits End Randuin's PD Serpent's Fang for your Cogball, what breakpoint are you looking for? You're cutting shields, great, but you're not cutting health bars, and ultimately, you do need to hit those health bars. There's no damage from anyone else, and Yoshi's struggling to even get the second drop of the Moonfall. The damage is not coming from your jungler whatsoever here. Stingus with the split push.
Yeah, he has teleport as well. No one can match him. JBL can try, but there's just too much wave push potential from Stingus on this Seraphine. He cracks open the last turret.
And Baron.
And this is so rough for Lotus. Now it's Baron started up. They had to call 2, 3, 4, 5 members back into the base. They are now turtling, hoping some divine intervention comes in to save them from the nightmare that this game has been.
There is no god except what you make yourself. You've got to force the fight here. You get one last fight of your Lotus. That's it. If you are going to let them siege into you with Baron buff, you're dead. All your inhibs are going to go down. You barely have half health on that bot lane inhib.
I mean, well, I will say at the very least, if you're gonna wait for breakpoints, if you're gonna take that fight, wait for this death cap to be completed on JVL. Not sure how much gold he's away from it, but he has both of those needlessly large rods.
Hey.
There it is. Okay, so that item is in, and I agree with you, RMC. At this point, you get one chance, you get one shot to save this game. You got to throw all your cards to the table. So far, they have not been able to get the 5v5 they want. They need to set up appropriately, whether that is in your base or out. Set up and fight. That is all you have left if you're Lotus.
Their cards are exposed. They are down gold. They have no turrets. Yeah, you can take a 5v5, but your 5v5 is now weaker because of what you've given up. And that is Mountain Soul, that is Baron, that is every ability to pressure the map and vision. It is who flashed that fight, pushing down this base for the final time. Wait for them to time these minion waves together, and they're going to converge onto Lotus's Nexus.
Yeah, the fight's likely going to have to be around this bottom inhibitor, right? Who Flash that fight wants this for triple inhib, and if they triple inhib, they don't even have to take a full team fight. They can let the minions do the work. Lotus knows that they'll have to fight around this inhib.
Yeah, and they're walking in minions in the mid lane as well right now. They don't have a choice. They literally can't even hit the Baron.
Wait,
what?
Yoshi tries to go in, but it's just an easy arcane shift exhausted. Now he has to retreat at half HP. JVL at about a third as well, having to walk back to the base. But there is Baron minions clapping away at these Nexus turrets. Donut Maker laying down a little bit of extra damage. Kiwi hit by the True Shot Barrage, and Donut's arcane shifting forward once again. Accelerate looking to run him down, but Donut's still kiting him out. Half HP in the Mundo. Waffle's gonna be wild growth. Waffle's trying to flash away. Yoshi's low. Accelerate having to get out as well, but they do not have the damage. Stingus can't beat Waffle in bot lane, but Stingus will beat you in mid. Lotus will throw this one out of the window, and who flashed that fight? Catch it and run.
I mean, who would have guessed that who flashed that fight could win a war of attrition against Lotus? Lotus has the highest game times in the league by a wide margin because they just wait around and win at team fights and win at objectives. And who flashed that fight just wins the game in 36 minutes without ever taking a 5v5. That was just incredible setup and macro from them. But Lotus, what happened? What changed from games 1 and 2 to 3? They looked so limp in that match.
Well, in Lotus's defense here, I think part of it is that they're not used to running this Egro composition, right? Like they didn't look particularly clean with it. And Yoshi being the sole source of engage, I think really came back to bite them. It honestly, I feel it came down a little bit to draft difference. The Yuumi just so much more effective. And for who flashed that fight, they kind of hard committed to what they wanted to do. They didn't see the Serpent's Fang sort of distraction coming in to mess things up. And even if they did, Ezreal wears it so much better than Waffle Wheel does. If you're going to go this Cogmall, I know I said somebody has to build that Serpent's Fang, but if anything, I think it'd still be better on something like a Mundo. It's super weird, but the whole idea is just apply the shield break, not about the damage. And if it takes up a damage slot for your Cogmall, that is a massive issue. I didn't even see the Kraken Slayer come through. I'm assuming it was completed before last fight, but it didn't even tickle them.
Not even close. Like that last fight just looked like 5 Yuumis versus 5 actual champions, and Lotus just kind of lost from macro. It's so weird to say, DJ. I think you said it best. How do you lose a war of attrition as Lotus? They are the team designed to sit back and scale. And Glaive said, you know what? We're going to take that same style and we're going to do it better. That alone is scary. Plus the fact now that you're up against Glaive, who's notorious for these comeback positions. I have, excuse me, you're up against who flashed that fight, who is notorious for these comeback positions. I say Glaive. Well,
Twice.
Well, who knows? Anyway, it's those two factors combined really put nerves in Lotus fans because you're up against it now. Stingus has now had all the momentum he needs. He even role swapped to mid. This is rough straits here for Lotus going forward. So we're just agreeing. That's what we think.
I literally have nothing else to say. Like, I mean, if that worked for who flashed that fight, I mean, guess we're getting ready for a 40-minute game here.
Yeah, cool. That was the first piece of color you guys agreed with all night. We take those. I'm taking my victories, and we're sending it to the analyst desk. Thank you, RMC and DJ. I appreciate the gratitude, even though I said the wrong team name. We have Fiddick and Boost waiting on the other side on our analyst desk as they tell you exactly how Glaive or who flashed that fight won that game and where we're headed for the rest of the series. Take it away.
There was a comment made during that cast. This reminds me of watching Korea in season 6.
Oh man, you know, I'm not gonna say I called it. Not gonna say it. Wait, hold on. Continue with your career point.
No. Boost called a 3-1 to Lotus, by the way.
I did call it 3-1 Lotus.
But okay, so we take a look at that game. First of all, the role swap, I don't think any of us liked when we first saw it. But I have to say, it worked out. Not because of the role swap, but because they had Ezreal Yumi and Hecarim Yumi. And Boost, you were saying this. Talk about Hecarim Yumi for me. Talk about how disgusting this was.
So I said that if Hecarim gets ahead, Hecarim Yumi becomes unstoppable and it's just unplayable into, because I mean Hecarim can just threaten at any point and your team can't deal with him. And what did Lotus do? They kept taking those 2v2 skirmishes mid, and sure they were getting the kill onto Stingus, but they kept trading back, and Hecarim kept getting the kills back onto the Orianna. And so he just became like super huge, and a fed Hecarim with the Yumi, I just can't say it enough. You just can't kill him.
Yeah,
and
Baka
also,
was absolutely a monster in these second and third games of the series. That said, you know, you saw this role swap. It was a little bit odd. Do you think they're going to swap back for game number 4?
So I said to put Stingus back on those long range supportive carries like Ezreal. I didn't think they would put him mid, but I mean, hey, you know, if it works, it works. He didn't do terribly on the Seraphine. Donut Maker was putting damage on the Ezreal, but I mean, he was down like 140 CS on the Kog'Maw, but it didn't really matter because their comp was just so much better when the Hecarim strong.
We're about to get into the draft for game number 4. What do we expect to see draft adaptations wise for these teams?
I want a Yumi ban. I strongly dislike that champion. Any game that she's in, it just feels so bad to watch and to play. But if that, and then I don't know. I think Lotus can still go with what they've been doing. Just maybe get another form of engage from somewhere from the top lane, maybe, or maybe even from the mid lane. But I don't think they really have to change much. Because Waffle was still super far ahead in that game. All he needed was just another go button, and then I think he could have been able to put out the damage that he needed.
We'll see if they decide to draft the Diana again, because I think it didn't look amazing game number 1, but it looked good in team fights, and then game 2 it looked good, game 3 it looked like it was going to get overwhelmed. We're finally into the drafts, though.